What class did you hate the most in high school? Woodshop. I absolutely hated woodshop. My guidance counselor made me take it junior year because I was failing English and needed an easy elective to keep my GPA above water. Mr. Bennett taught it. This old guy with sawdust permanently stuck in his beard. I thought it would be simple. Make a birdhouse, get an A, move on with my life. Instead, Mr. Bennett treated that class like we were building furniture for the president. Every cut had to be perfect. Every corner had to be square. Every piece of sandpaper had to be used in the right direction with the grain. I didn't care about any of it. I was 16. I wanted to hang out with my friends and play video games, not stand in a dusty workshop making a bookshelf nobody would ever use. But Mr. Bennett wouldn't let anyone half do anything. If your measurements were off by even a tiny bit, he'd make you start over. If you rushed through sanding, he'd hand you a finer grit and tell you to do it again. He never yelled, never got mad, just quietly disappointed, which somehow felt worse. I complained about that class every single day to my mom. She'd pick me up after school and I'd have sawdust in my hair and splinters in my fingers, and I'd tell her it was the biggest waste of time in my entire life. What are you even making? She'd ask. A wooden box. A stupid wooden box that's taken me 6 weeks because Bennett makes us redo everything a million times. She'd just nod and tell me to stick with it. I finished that box 3 days before the semester ended. It was small, maybe 8 inches wide, dark walnut wood with brass hinges and a felt-lined interior. Mr. Bennett inspected every inch of it with his magnifying glass thing. Then he looked at me and said, "This is good work, Tyler. You should be proud." I wasn't proud. I was just glad to be done. I gave the box to my mom for Christmas that year. She cried when she opened it, which I thought was weird. "It's just a box, Mom." She put it on her dresser and kept her jewelry in it. I didn't think about it again. 20 years went by. I moved out, got married, had 2 kids. Life happened fast. Mom got sick last spring. Cancer. It moved quick. I was at her house going through her things after the funeral. My sister was crying in the living room. Dad was sitting in the garage, staring at nothing. I went into Mom's bedroom and saw that box still sitting on her dresser. After 20 years, it was still there. I picked it up. The wood was still smooth. The hinges still worked perfectly. Not a single crack or loose corner. It looked exactly like it did the day I made it. Inside was a folded piece of paper I'd never seen before. I opened it. It was a note in Mom's handwriting, dated from the week I gave her the box. "Tyler made this in that woodshop class he hates. He complains about it every day. But I watch him come home with sawdust in his hair and cuts on his hands, and he never quits. Mr. Bennett makes him redo things over and over, and Tyler gets frustrated, but he keeps going back. That's how I know he's going to be okay in life. Not because things come easy, but because he doesn't give up when they're hard. This box is the most beautiful thing anyone has ever made for me. Not because it's perfect, but because he didn't want to make it, and he made it anyway. And he made it right. I'm keeping this forever." I sat on her bed holding that box and cried harder than I'd cried in years. I'd spent 20 years thinking that class was pointless, that Mr. Bennett was just some old guy wasting our time, that the box was just a box. But my mom had seen something different. She'd seen me learning how to finish things even when I didn't want to, how to do something right even when it was boring, how to take pride in work that nobody else would notice. After the funeral, I went back to Mr. Bennett's classroom. He'd retired 5 years earlier, but the school gave me his address. I drove to his house with that wooden box. He answered the door looking exactly the same, just older, more gray in the beard. I told him I'd hated his class, that I thought it was stupid and pointless. Then I showed him the box, told him my mom had kept it for 20 years, that she'd written a note about what it meant to her, that I finally understood why he'd made us redo everything until it was right. Mr. Bennett held that box and turned it over in his hands, tested the hinges, ran his fingers along the corners. "Still solid," he said quietly. "You did good work." Then he looked at me. I had hundreds of kids come through that shop. Most of them hated it just like you did, but every single one of them learned the same lesson whether they knew it or not. What's that? The things worth keeping are the things you don't give up on, even when they're hard, even when you don't see the point. I kept that box. My daughter uses it now for her art supplies, and sometimes when she complains about her homework being too hard or taking too long, I show it to her. I tell her about Mr. Bennett, about sawdust and splinters and having to start over a dozen times, about how the best things we make are usually the things we didn't want to make at all.